Good evening. The art of writing, Abraham Lincoln once declared, is the great invention of the world, great in enabling us to converse with the dead, the absent, and the unborn at all distances of time and space. With those words, he forecast his own impact on American literature. In the assessment of no less than Harriet Beecher Stowe, Lincoln's own writing proved worthy to be inscribed in letters of gold. She was right. Lincoln did nothing less than revolutionize the American political vocabulary. But no political leader, no political writer, not even Lincoln, can define his own place in the landscape of memory. That judgment belongs to those who assess the living man, massage his life into metaphor, and refine what Lincoln called over all distances of time and space. The Lincoln we've come to know, the man who in Barack Obama's view, through his will and words, moved a nation and helped free a people, not surprisingly began this process of analysis himself. Though he never kept a journal or wrote a memoir, Lincoln offered the very first judgment of his prospects while still a teenager, scribbling in a notebook on which he practiced arithmetic, but occasionally let his mind wander to contemplate his own future.
Abraham Lincoln, his hand and pen, he will be good, but God knows when. Time, what an empty vapor 'tis, and days, how swift they are. Swift as an Indian arrow, fly on like a shooting star. The present moment just is here, then slides away in haste, that we can never say they're ours, but only say they're past. Abraham Lincoln is my name, and with my pen I wrote the same. I wrote in both haste and speed, and left it here for fools to read. Lincoln
underestimated himself. Though he would escape the notice of America's greatest writers for another 4 decades, when he arrived in this hall 149 years ago, almost to the date, to deliver his Cooper Union address, he was introduced by the editor of the most liberal newspaper in New York, the New York Post. This is how William Cullen Bryant introduced him here in 1860. Until that day, Lincoln was but an intriguing Westerner who had nearly won a Senate seat. That was about to change.
These children of the West form a living bulwark against the advance of slavery, and from them is recruited the vanguard of the mighty armies of liberty. One of them I present to you this evening, a gallant soldier of the political campaign of 1856, in which he rendered a good service to the Republican cause, and the great champion of that cause in Illinois 2 years later, when he and his friends would have won the victory but for the unjust apportionment law. I need only to pronounce the name of Abraham Lincoln of Illinois. I have only to pronounce his name to secure your profoundest attention.
And attention was paid. Just 8 months later, Lincoln won the presidency. A little-known, inexperienced Illinois lawyer had seized his party's nomination from the overwhelming favorite, the senator from New York. And yet he remained obscure, still required introduction. The first embedded journalist to observe him at home as he prepared for his inauguration was Henry Villard of the New York Herald, who watched him change his attitude and his image to face the coming storm, still not certain the nation had chosen wisely.
His old friends, who've been used to a great indifference as to the outer man on his part, say that Abe is putting on airs. By this they refer to the fact that he's now wearing a brand new hat and suit, and that he has commenced cultivating the, with him, unusual adornment of whiskers. But these late outward embellishments, to the contrary notwithstanding, We venture to say that Fifth Avenue snobs, if unaware who he was, would be horrified at walking across the street with him. And yet there's something about the man that makes one forget these exterior shortcomings and feel attracted toward him. But the present aspect of the country, I think, augurs one of the most difficult terms which any president has yet been called to weather. And I doubt Mr. Lincoln's capacity for the task of bringing light and peace out of the chaos that will surround him. A man of good heart and good intention, he is not firm. The times demand a Jackson.
The times brought more scrutiny, but for a time, no more praise. One of the writers who glimpsed Lincoln at the White House was Nathaniel Hawthorne, a confirmed Democrat who preferred the handsome, pro-slavery fellow New Englander Franklin Pierce. Hawthorne's brutally frank portrait of Lincoln was considered so shocking that the Atlantic Monthly refused to print it all. Yet as it progresses, one can almost feel the starchy New Englander slowly falling under Lincoln's spell.
If put to guess his livelihood, I should have taken him for a country schoolmaster as soon as anything else. He was dressed in a rusty black frock coat and pantaloons, unbrushed, and worn so faithfully that the suit had adapted itself to the curves and angularities of his figure, and had grown to be an outer skin of the man. He had shabby slippers on his feet. His hair was black, still unmixed with gray, stiff, somewhat bushy, and had apparently been acquainted with neither brush nor comb. The whole physiognomy is as coarse a one as you would meet anywhere in the length and breadth of the States. But withal, it is redeemed, illuminated, softened, and brightened by a kindly though serious look out of his eyes, and an expression of homely sagacity that seems weighted with rich village experience. A great deal of native sense, no bookish cultivation, no refinement. Honest at heart and thoroughly so, and yet in some sort sly, at least endowed with a sort of tact and wisdom that are akin to craft that would impel him, I think, to take an antagonist in flank rather than to make a bull run at him right in front. But on the whole, I liked his sallow, queer, sagacious visage. And for my small share in the matter, would as lief have Uncle Abe for a ruler as any man whom it would have been practicable to put in his place.
For months, Lincoln kept Northern Democrats like Hawthorne at bay by resisting the temptation to transform the war for the Union into a war for liberty. Not everyone applauded this delay. Horace Greeley, the influential editor of the New York Tribune, led the chorus of attack, unaware that the president had already drafted an Emancipation Proclamation, tabling it only until it could be backed by a battlefield victory.
Dear sir, I do not intrude to tell you, for you must know already, that a great portion of those who triumphed in your election, and all who desire the unqualified suppression of the rebellion now desolating our country, are sorely disappointed and deeply pained by the policy you seem to be pursuing with regard to the slaves of the rebels. We think you are strangely and disastrously remiss in the discharge of your official and imperative duty. Why these traitors should be treated with tenderness by you, to the prejudice of the dearest rights of loyal men, we cannot conceive. We think you are unduly influenced by the counsels, the representations, the menaces of fossil politicians hailing from the border slave states. Whether you will choose to bear responsibility through future history and at the bar of God, I will not judge. I entreat you to render a hearty and unequivocal obedience to the law of the land.